Hey guys, welcome back to the ExamRevision YouTube channel. My name is Ellen and today we're going to be talking about how to get a H1 in your languages. These tips are not specific to any language in particular, but they will help out with Irish, French, Spanish, German, whatever languages that you are taking for your Leaving Cert. A lot of people are not great at languages, including myself, but you really can train yourself to get good at them, especially if you're using certain effective techniques. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the video. The first thing I want to talk about is effective language learning techniques, just like I said before. This includes watching YouTube, movies, listening to the radio, reading books, all in your desired language. For example, when I was in the Leaving Cert, I watched a lot of French Peppa Pig, and I also took out a bunch of French children's books from the library at school. Obviously, as you can tell from that alone, I was not good at French or Irish. I'm just not good at languages, that's it. But these things were so helpful. If you were like me and were really starting off as a beginner and were no good at languages, starting off with Peppa Pig and children's books is a great idea. They speak slowly in Peppa Pig. You are obviously watching it so you can kind of see what's happening and you can kind of match the vocab that they're saying with what's happening as you watch it, which will help you understand a lot more. If you are watching French movies or Irish movies, whatever, you can put subtitles on which match the vocab that they were saying with what was actually happening or what the translation to English was. The great thing about this and using these techniques is as you get better and get more advanced with the subject, okay, maybe not advanced, but you get to maybe a bit more intermediate, you can watch a slightly more complicated TV show or even books. You can go up to maybe a children's novel instead of just children's picture books. And even though I hated studying languages, absolutely hated it, the idea of using, TV shows or YouTube or children's books made studying so much easier. It wasn't so daunting and I didn't really mind watching Peppa Pig for 20 minutes while it still felt that I was still learning something. So if you're really struggling right now, I would highly recommend it. Especially if you're in 5th year, you have time to really improve in these languages. No matter what grade you're getting now, you have so much time to improve. So do not be ashamed if you're starting off with Peppa Pig or the children's book, because I did, and they help, I promise. The next thing I want to talk about is flashcards. I did not love using flashcards for a bunch of subjects. Before languages, they are so useful. I would have a bunch of my vocab, especially ones that I would use for my oral, and then I could reuse that vocab again in the written exam. So all the vocab about myself, my family, where I lived, my school, all my hobbies. I would have flashcards for all of that, which I used up until the oral, but also continued to use then for my written exam. Because a lot of the time you can reuse a lot of that vocab. Sometimes before school, if I had 15 minutes to spare, I would just run through my flashcards. If you're not big into physical flashcards, you could also get them on your phone using Anki and make them there. And then you could literally use them on the bus to school, because then it doesn't feel like I have to study for 2 hours at a time, this awful language that I didn't like. Whenever I had 15 minutes to spare, I would go through my flashcards, whether that be on Anki or my physical ones. Going along with this, practicing regularly is so important, especially if you don't like studying languages like me. I don't want to sit down and study French or Irish for 2 hours. That is my worst nightmare. So breaking it up to doing 15 minutes a day helped so much. It is so less daunting, and you most likely will actually do your 15 minutes. Giving yourself a 2 hours time slot for something that you don't like, you're barely going to study for that 2 hours, and it is not going to be productive. So giving yourself 15 to 20 minutes every day to go through your flashcards, or practice an essay question, or practice for your oral by talking to your family. But giving yourself 15 minutes, it's really not that long. Anyone can handle 15 minutes of something they don't like. Whether giving yourself 2 hour time slot once a week is just not really gonna help, and you're most likely not gonna do it. The next thing I want to talk about is grammar. Obviously in school, I feel like a lot of the time in these languages, most of the things you're doing is grammar. We had these rhymes in school for all of the grammar in French, and they were so useful. I'm sure they're probably on YouTube, so if you look up French grammar rhymes or French grammar songs on YouTube, you'll probably find the ones that my teacher taught us. And grammar especially is so important for the oral. You want to be talking in the correct tense, and that is so important and will really help you maintain those points, because in the orals for Irish or French or whatever language you do, you start off with 100 points, and whatever you get wrong, you will get deducted from that. So they don't start from 0 and build up from that. They actually just subtract whatever you're getting wrong. So making sure you have that grammar on point is so important. Another thing I want to point out is practicing your oral with your family. Just like I said, I did this so much. I would literally just make my mom sit on my bed and I would just give my spiel about myself, my school, my friends, where I lived, my hobbies. I'm not gonna lie, it does put a little bit of pressure on you because if your family member is just sitting there, they're just waiting for you to talk, and it kind of mimics that oral situation by putting that little bit of pressure on you, and so you're not gonna go into the exam and feel so pressurized and then just blank. So definitely practicing over family is huge. Even if you don't have someone to practice on, like use your dog or a teddy bear or something. It still feels like someone's watching you and you feel obliged to keep going, and it will mimic that exam scenario. The last thing I want to talk about is a bit of a random tip, but in my phone settings, I actually changed my phone's language to French and to Irish. Now, this doesn't like alter anything. Like if you went into Instagram, like captions or bios, that's not gonna be in French, but little things like all the names of your apps will all be in your desired language, or like your notifications will be in your desired language. It just helps you pick up that little bit more vocab while it doesn't feel like you're actually studying. But if you change your phone settings now, by the time it gets to your exams in June, you will have picked up a couple little things. If you're really struggling with language like I was, I would definitely recommend checking out the ExamRevision courses. They have video lessons, presentations, quizzes, H1 standard notes, and were so useful to me. My teachers didn't give out any notes, especially in French, they didn't at all, and I was expected to just work from the book, which is extremely daunting when you don't understand the language and you're no good at it. So having H1 standard notes per topic in the subject was so useful and so less daunting. They also have the exam questions split up per topic within each subject, and if you click on them, they have the marking scheme as well. So yeah, if you're really struggling and you don't have the best teacher, I would highly recommend checking them out. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye!